So this is going to be an interesting look at the NB2 True Wireless Earbuds by Edifier. So as with everything on this channel, I'm going to concentrate on the design, usability and workflow, and unlike the other kind of reviews that you'll see on this, I'm not going to go into great detail on all the features. It's obviously widely available information. I'm just going to assume that you know that kind of stuff already. So we're looking for interesting design choices that deal with the way that you use these day to day. So things like, what happens when you take one out to put it in the charging case while you're still on a phone call, and do they remember settings when you put them in the case and then back out, that kind of thing. So little workflow explorations and an analysis of what they're like to live with day to day. So if we look at the design of them, we can see they're quite a unique shape. They've got a very hard edge and a flat surface on the outside, and that's unusual. Most of these things have got quite a curved, rounded shape to them. But actually that hard edge and the flat surface makes them very easy to take in and out of the case. First of all, they're the most easiest I've seen of all the ones I've tried. Taking them in and out of the case, super easy. Easier than AirPods and the Comfort Buds for sure. So once they're in your ear, this hard edge and the flat surface actually makes them really easy to kind of orient in your ears. I find that you want to reseat them in your ears quite frequently. As you talk, they kind of work their way out and you lose that seal and then the sound quality drops off. So just a little flick forwards helps reseat them in your ear, and having that hard edge on the outside makes that work quite well. So although that shape makes them very easy to get out of the case once it's open, unfortunately opening the case itself is actually a real pain. There's no really obvious lip on either side. In fact, the easiest way I've found to sort of know which way round you've got it, if you're just trying to do it by touch or even by looking at it, the easiest way is just to see which side the USB port is. You can feel that, or obviously you can see it, and then the opening side is the other side of that. So you have to kind of use that as a way of knowing even which way to start before you try and open it. And then because there's no lip, you can't really grab it. You have to sort of really pinch it quite hard and then pry it apart. And then if you're trying to do that in a quiet environment, and suddenly it snaps shut because of that extra pressure you're putting on it, it's really loud. Basically the whole experience is quite unpleasant, and so sometimes you find yourself poking your thumbnail through the gap to try and do it quietly. It's generally just a very unpleasant experience, and that case design, it could definitely be improved. Interestingly, if you compare it to something like the AirPods, you realize the difference in the design here and how they solve this problem. They haven't got any big protruding lips either, it's very neat and tidy, but because of the position of the pivot, when you push that, your sort of leverage advantage is actually opening the case just through applying the pressure to the side of the AirPod case. So you haven't got to actually have the lip. You're not gripping the lip as such. It just works. It just opens with a little bit of pressure in the right direction, and it'll flip open. So it's that kind of attention to detail and those kind of design choices that I really look for in a device I'm using day to day. So looking back at the design, this flat outer surface actually works very well with the touch sensitive controls. So as soon as you touch it, you're in the right place. You can feel that edge, and the touch surface is that flat surface that you can feel. So the touch controls are obviously a pretty key way that you work with these, and we've got a different set of options on the left and the right, so you've got a range of different controls, but unfortunately there is no control for triggering your smart assistant or going to the previous track. This is sort of, these two features for me are really important, and I really wish that we could switch some of those other features, like we've got spatial audio and a game mode. We've got these options on one of the controls. If in the app we could change those to something like triggering the smart assistant or previous track, I would love that. But as far as I can see, there's no way of doing that, which is a real shame. So the Bluetooth cooling controls are exactly the same on either side, so that works even if you're just using one and the other one's in the case. So that's quite a common workflow with this kind of thing, so it's good that that works that way. So the other situation I find myself quite often in is if someone wants to talk to me while I'm listening to music on these, taking one out pauses it because it's got the in-ear detection, and that's really, really useful. It's a very good way of just, you take it's quite a nice signal to the person that you can then hear them and that the music stops. It does the assumption. In reality, it's actually about 2 seconds the music will keep playing before it does stop after you take it out. But it also resumes when you put it back in again. So brilliant, we've got in-ear detection on these at this price point, really important feature. So if we double tap the left one, it cycles through all the noise reduction modes. So we've got the active noise reduction, the passive noise reduction of just having them in your ear with it turned off, and then the ambient sound mode where it will sort of play you the sound of the ambient sound through your ear, so it's like you haven't got them in, you can hear everything around you. My actual preference is just to have it all turned off and just use the natural passive kind of isolation effect of having the in-ear earbuds, which unfortunately means every time I take them out of the case and put them in, I have to go cycle through the first two options to get that back. It doesn't remember it every time I put them in the case and put them back on. Really frustrating that it doesn't remember the last mode that you leave it in, actually, because you've got to double tap, wait for the audio feedback, and you've got the American voice again announcing what mode it's in. So it announces that it's in ambient mode and then noise reduction off, and we get to the one we're in, but you've got to sort of double tap, wait for the audio, double tap, wait for the audio. Yeah, it's not great. It would be brilliant if it just remembered the last mode you were in. So one of the other important parts of owning wireless earbuds, I think, is the ability to see the battery levels. So when I use these with the Mac, I can't see any battery status at all on the Mac for them, even though with AirPods you can actually see that information. So with these, it's actually the same as all the other Bluetooth non-Apple earphones that I've tried as well. You can't see the battery status for them on the Mac. When I connect them to my phone, though, I do see the battery status shown in the little battery widgets on the iPhone, so that works nicely, but still no way of seeing the case. So checking the battery status of the case is a real hassle. The Edifier app on the phone doesn't even show it. You have to actually look at the case itself. So you open the case and then you quickly turn it over and look at the lights on the back, and you have to count the flashes to see the battery status. Now this isn't great. If you want to display a battery status on the device with lights, fine. Show me a number of lights illuminated out of, so 3 out of 5, for example, could show that percentage of a battery at a glance. I'm not counting anything. You can recognize it visually instantly. Other option would be different colored lights, something you can recognize at a glance instead of counting through time, wasting your time counting lights flashing. That's definitely something that could be improved. So the app on iOS actually has a widget which you can put on your home screen, and that lets you see the battery status as well as changing through the sound isolation modes. So that's nice to see that kind of proper integration on the iOS platform. So let's look at the nemesis of non-Apple Bluetooth headphones here, and that's switching between devices. So Apple have set the bar so high here, it's almost unfair to talk about anything else. So let's just recap what's actually possible with AirPods. So I can be listening to music on my Mac with the AirPods. I can then just pick up my phone, make a call, and the audio will transfer to the phone's audio for making that call. And then when I hang up the call, the Mac asks if I want to bring the audio back. I mean, that is just amazing, considering how much of a faff normal Bluetooth devices are to switch between devices. To see that working the way it does with AirPods is remarkable. So that's where the bar is set. Even more amazing, actually, the watch will transfer the audio from whatever you were previously listening to. If you do something on the watch, the audio transfers to the watch and you can just hear what your watch is doing. So if you just play a podcast, you haven't got to do anything. It just switches and it starts playing. Really amazing stuff. So with these mere mortal Bluetooth earphones, the process of changing devices is quite different. So what you actually have to do is reconnect to the new device. The easiest way of doing that is disconnecting the current one first, and then you can reconnect. So they can be paired to more than one, but you have to disconnect from the previous device and then manually select it on the other device. The problem is if you go off somewhere away from the first device, you can't disconnect it first. That becomes a real issue. You have to put the case back into pairing mode and then you can reconnect it. And that kind of works sometimes, but other times what will happen is it won't recognize it and you have to then reset it and actually repair it. Putting it into pairing mode sometimes will let you just reconnect without going through the routine of repairing. Other times it just doesn't seem to work, and you actually have to do the forget the device thing on the second device and fully repair it to connect it back. So it's just, it's a real hassle changing devices. I think if you're going to get non-Apple earphones, you want to be pretty sure that you're only really going to use them with one device. It's just too much of a hassle to change between a Mac and a phone frequently with these kinds of earphones. So this is definitely a pretty appalling workflow. In fact, I'd almost argue that it's easier just to use a wired headphones than have to deal with this every time you want to change devices. Of course, Apple have created a bit of a problem there by taking the headphone port off the iPhone. So even maybe you think I spend a bit more and get the AirPods, but then the low-end AirPods are really not competing in terms of sound quality with these Edifiers. So then you're jumping up to the AirPods Pro, which I haven't actually tried, but I'm assuming starts to get a little bit more comparable in terms of sound quality. And then the price difference really is quite something. So, you are compromising that. And if you're only using it with one device, you can save a load of money and get great sound quality, but you are compromising on that ability to change between the devices. So speaking of sound quality, I'll see if I can shed some light on that for you. So as with the Comfort Buds, the Edifiers at this price point really stand out for their sound quality. And again, like the Comfort Buds, they've got this amazing bass. And, so what I mean by that is they're capable of amazing bass. They can generate the bassy sound. It's not artificial like the drivers inside with the seal of the in-ear design really deliver this phenomenal sounding bass, and they're tuned to kind of take advantage of that. So they are a bit of a warm sound, very pleasurable to listen to, but obviously it's a little bit warmer than is probably accurate. But because the bass quality is so good, you kind of it works okay, it kind of works nicely enough. It's very pleasant to listen to. So they really do handle that effortlessly, but they do lack a little bit of the musicalness and spaciousness that the Comfort Buds have. There's still plenty of detail in the treble, and the mids and the vocals come across nicely. You can definitely enjoy music on these for extended periods of time. So the tracks that are showing in the B-roll are the kind of tracks that stood out to me while I was demoing these, so you can have a listen to those and see what I mean. So the design of the in-ear bit inside the silicone cup is actually narrower and further away from the body, as opposed to the Comfort Buds, which have got this broader one that's a bit closer to the body. So that's obviously going to be dependent on your ears, whether you find that comfortable or not. For me, they feel very comfortable. They don't kind of feel sore after a while in the same way the Comfort Buds did for me, but this is obviously going to be down to personal preference here. So I've switched to the audio that's being recorded from these now. So it's going straight into the phone. Obviously, it would be worse if you were actually making a phone call over a network, but this is the best quality, if you like, that the microphone in these can record onto this device. So this is obviously just a quiet room with no wind or anything. So what I'm going to do now is turn the fan on to simulate some background noise, but I won't have the airflow hitting me initially. And we can just see how it picks up the background noise. So let's just put this on maximum. Alright, so that's maximum but not directed at me. So it's quite noisy in the room, but no airflow. If I switch the airflow on, we'll see how it deals with the wind noise on the microphone itself. So that's a lot of airflow from the maximum power hitting it directly on now, so I'm interested to see how it compares to just the background noise. So I hope I've managed to explore these things a little bit and shed some light on what they're actually like to live with day to day, which is kind of often what's overlooked in product reviews, I think. So hopefully that's been of interest to you. Let me know in the comments below if you use these or something similar, and let me know what you think of them. So I make films on design, usability and workflow, as we've done in this video, exploring the impacts of workflow and the day-to-day experience of using things. So if you click my name below, you can explore my other videos, and I've done all kinds of different topics, so there's something for everyone. So hopefully you'll enjoy those and consider subscribing for more videos in the future, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.